having a simple framework that you can utilize every single day has been so important for me as a 7-figure print-on-demand Etsy seller. So in today's video, I'm gonna outline the 5 things you need to take your Etsy store from $0 to $100,000 in 1 year. And the first thing is to define your goal. Because without that, there's this old saying that I think most of us have heard, and that is that without a goal, you can't actually score. Think of it like if someone plays soccer or football or whatever you call it, if there's no goal to actually throw the ball in, you have no idea like if you ever scored a goal. And if you take that into parallel with Etsy, if you don't know exactly what you want to make in 1 year, you don't know the prerequisite work that you need to do every single day in order to achieve that goal. Because really all like daily tasks that you do every single day is just derived from that big goal that you have, that yearly goal. So the absolute first thing that's been so incredibly important for me, at least in my journey, has been to define a said goal. And you need to make this super clear. So making it, for instance, $100,000 in 1 year is key, because that gives you the benchmark revenue that you need to hit per year. It also gives you an estimate of how much revenue you need to do per month, and then how much revenue you need to do per day. And if you're on par with that goal, like that revenue goal that you're doing per day, you're good. If you're not, then you need to reflect and iterate on your progress, which we'll touch more on later. The second thing that is utterly important, that I think honestly most people don't follow, is to follow the data. It's incredibly important to follow the data, and it goes into every step. And the first thing is to honestly just, if we're gonna sell print on demand, we need to actually sell products that people want. The easiest way nowadays to even see what people want is to just go to Printify and utilize the Printify insights that we have here. You need to have at least 20 sales or more, I think, per month to actually get access to this, but I can just show you right off the bat what the top selling products are on the platform overall. This is so valuable information, because like, if someone is using Printify with Shopify, Printify with Amazon, or Printify with Etsy, then you get data on what current products now, I'm recording this on the 5th of May in 2025, but like what are the current products that are selling today, and like the best selling products overall, which is incredibly valuable information. And comfort colors has been really popping on Etsy for this past year. So it's no surprise that that's the best selling t-shirt to even sell at the moment. But generally, these top products here has basically always been apparel, unless we're in Q4 and you can like see wrapping paper and stuff like that. But generally, the top products has always been apparel. By just following the Printify insights, we just know that, okay, it's apparel that we should do, and probably t-shirts. And there's so many videos here on YouTube that just honestly say that t-shirts are oversaturated, but when it comes to like saturation, all it just means that there is a huge demand on it. And if you make a design combining best, like we'll touch more on this in a sec, but if you make designs based on best-selling elements and combine them in new ways to the platform, then you can always stand out, because you're adding value to the platform. Which products you actually sell on, it just makes it so much easier to actually get sales, because it needs to be in demand. So just following the data here is key. And the second part to following the data is to just not do designs that you want to make yourself. It's to actually follow the data here as well. So, and what I mean by this is that you should, obviously you should not copy people. That doesn't make sense at all, because then you're not adding any value to the platform. And again, if you just picture if you have one design here and one design here, this one has 5,000 reviews, this one has 0 reviews, and it looks exactly the same. Why would someone purchase this one, even though it might have a cheaper price compared to this one? Well, probably because they've seen 5,000 other people buying this item, having a great experience buying this item, but none with this. So there's a lot more risk with buying this compared to this. And if someone needs it for an event, then they really want to get the specific item itself. They don't want to risk not getting what they pay for, so they usually buy this. So not copying people is something that you should never do, but what you should do is, again, follow the data. And what I mean by this is that if I just, for instance, search for t-shirt here, and then I go to the filters, I live in Sweden, so I gotta make sure that this says delivery to the US. This is key if you live out abroad from the US, but US is the target market that I only focus on, which I highly recommend that you also only focus on if you live abroad from the US. You apply the physical items filter, the star seller filter, and then we swap out star for best in the search bar. By doing this, we basically just get the best sellers for this big keyword, which is t-shirts. But, and as a small tangent, never do this. This is obviously copyrighted by Minecraft. Never ever do this. But again, what we can do with this by just going here is, first off, we can just look at the first page to just see common denominators within design. And when we see like that the cursive font is working super well and the curlish font is working super well, then we can combine them in new ways to create something new. But as an example, let's see if we can find some stuff. Let's see here, line art. I think I saw some flowers above here too, right? Or actually, this one has like a type of line art. Okay, let's see here. Let's see if we can find some common denominators here. Okay, so right off the bat, what we kind of found now here, this is in the ocean nature niche, and it has these kind of vintage retro vibe to it, where it's almost line art but not entirely. So that is just that kind of outlined style is super popular. This one has the same thing. It's kind of in the same niche, too. This one is also in the same niche, but basically like I think all of these are all different shops. They're almost all different shops. But again, there's common denominators from all of these different shops, and it's this outlined nature to it, outlined shirt to it all. But again, like this doesn't have to just be applied into the ocean nature shirt. It can also be applied in the Christian, I think this, yeah, in this dandelion niche as well. It can also be applied here. If we find one more, let's see if we can find that. This is kind of that, but let's see if we can find anything else. I think this one could be good. This one too has it. So it's basically these animals with this, it just basically has the outline of the animals and just filled in with the hairs and stuff like that. But that's the key elements in all of these designs. And following that data is crucial. And to even like fast track this whole thing, which is something that I highly recommend that everyone should do. I have a whole video about this, which you can watch here. But as a tidbit to this too, what you can do when it comes to this is that you can actually go into a specific shop. You can press Analyze Shop, and then you can press, using Everbee, you can press Export here. And what this does is that it gives us the total like projected backend data from the shop. Well, if we do this for all of the shops that we are looking at, then we can just take them, apply them all into a Google Sheets file, and then just see which are the top selling listings from all these different top shops. But apart from that, what are actually making these designs top selling? Because as we can see, all of these are currently bestsellers, and there are major commonalities between design here. So we have this one that has this outline stuff, also like kind of outlined dandelion, outlined fish, outline fish, outline fish, outline fish. But again, like these comes from wildly different shops, and these are like, this is in the donkey niche, like the animal niche. This is in the dandelion niche. This is in the fish niche. So with this, we can just understand that this outlined type of style is doing really well, almost line art, but not entirely. And if we just have them all in a Google Sheet file using Everbee here, because we can again just go to the other shop here, go to Analyze Shop, and then press Export. We get CSV files, and then we can just all put them all in a Google Sheets file. Doing this can just fast track the whole thing, but it also makes it easier to just follow the data. Again, this goes back to the first lesson, which is to define the goal. If the goal is kind of like me, like it was for me, to actually make this a viable business where you actually are getting a profit from it every month that you can live off of, then it's key to actually make stuff for other people. Because in order to make any type of exchange with money work, is that they have to give it to you voluntarily, obviously. And if they have to give it to you voluntarily, you have to give something back they want. So what you want, again, is kind of out of the equation here. We want to make the transaction here, like you get paid for something that you want, but there's like an equal transaction here. And if you don't do that and you only make designs from your perspective that you like yourself, the likelihood that they won't like it is really high. So if you want to treat it like that, then there's a high likelihood that most designs that you will create will not work, because they're not based on other things that other people want. And what I've found in my experience with doing anything artistically, at least, if you don't base it out of research, you have to make up for it in volume, because you still need to find something that someone else likes, but you just have to make up for it in volume. Because like if you make 1,000 original designs that's not based on that data, then you will get better at and better at it and better at it. And some of those will actually sell, like maybe like 10 of those will actually really, really work. Whereas if you just focus on the data, it makes it so much easier, and it expedites the whole process, and you can still make original work based on data because you're combining the new elements into something new. But it just fast tracks the whole progress if you follow the data. So that's the second lesson. But now, one of the most utterly important things when it comes to this whole thing is to do one thing each day. So we all have these commitments that we have to do each day, whether it's work, family, or anything of the sort. And we have to abide by those because those are our responsibilities. But the key thing is to schedule like a time in your day where you can actually progress the business. So let's say, for instance, that I want to find shops to use in my master list that I mentioned here with Everbee. The only thing that I should do that day to make it a successful day is to find 5 to 10 shops that I want to be like. If I've done that, that's a successful day. It might take half an hour, it might take 5 hours. It just depends on the result that you actually got. If it's thorough and you're good, and the stores that you picked out is good, then you made it successful. If you rushed it, then you need to backtrack and do it again. But the key thing is to just do that for one day. The day after that, you might want to research those listings. If you research those listings to find the best-selling elements, the commonalities within the offer to make that makes it a best-selling offer, then it's a successful day. If you're designing one day and you only like to design for one day and that's the goal for the day, if you've done those designs, then it's a successful day. But you do one of those things each day. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, but you also want to hold yourself accountable to the things that you say that you're going to do. It's key to make it work. But if you only make one thing each day, it makes it really manageable to actually make it happen. And you also build a lot of momentum from that. And the fourth lesson is to never, ever judge your work. So let's say that you combine different elements into something new. You made a design and you don't even like it yourself. This has happened to me tons of times. The key part about this whole process is to not judge it yourself. You provide the value, you make the best design that you can make in your current ability, and then you just provide that to the marketplace, which is Etsy in this case, and then you let the market decide. Because again, the crazy part about this whole thing, in my experience, has always been that you can sell a ton of stuff, but it's never the ones that you think are gonna sell that sell. It's always like the ones that you make in 2 or 3 minutes that actually sell. Like a lot of my abominations sell really well, whereas the ones that I think really look really good, they never even sell once or just sells a couple times. This has been like really evident throughout my whole Etsy journey of going like from 0 to over $1 million in revenue. I really implore you, never ever judge your work. Just create designs based on best-selling elements and combine them in new ways. And then once you've done that, list them on the platform and don't judge them. Just create it, list it, and go to the next. Just don't judge it. Don't think, okay, this is bad, I'm not gonna list it. Don't think this is good, I'm gonna list it. Just create the work and go to the next. We are the creators in this instance. We are not the customers. The customers are the ones that actually judge if it's valuable or not. And they judge that with their dollars. And the last thing is to reflect and iterate. All of these lessons has been honestly key to get my store rolling and just to evolve as an entrepreneur overall. But this is probably one of the biggest things, because in the beginning you kind of think that you need to do everything by yourself, and you can to an extent. Like for instance, in the beginning, I did all of my accounting in my Etsy journey, and it was such a hassle because I basically had to pay someone to double check it so it's actually correct, and I have to figure it out. And at the end of it all, it kind of cost maybe like about as much as it would have cost to just hire an accountant that could just figure this out for myself. They could just figure this out for me without me having to act as the whole Etsy business in just one person. It's so much better to just find an expert in the field and outsource the part of the business to them. In this case, the accounting. It would have been so much better. And as I reflect on it, that would have been huge. But the main part that I want to get across, you think that you need to do everything yourself in the beginning. At least that's what I thought. And you need to be good at every single part, and you need to do everything by yourself because it's a business. But that's not really how you make a successful business work. Because in the beginning, there's so many things that you don't really know. And one thing that I did in the beginning was that I paid to be in a group of like peers that also didn't know much about Etsy, but wanted to really make Etsy happen. And that really elevated my whole journey. So I was a part of a small mentorship group that Cassie Johnson had in the beginning, and that really propelled me to just give me the foundations to actually make my store work. Because when I started, I kind of just hit the ground running and just listed 500 listings a month. I don't recommend anyone to do that because I got really fast at listing, but I was doing really bad designs. I didn't understand how to do research and anything like that. And I kind of plateaued at like 5K I think it was like around 5K in revenue each month. And again, 20% was like the margins for this. So I basically earned $500 to $1,000 a month in the beginning, and I lived off of this. So this was really, really hard. But once I actually joined the group, I could get some feedback on the process, on what I was actually doing right, what I was doing wrong. And that thing actually made me be able to scale, because I can actually like iterate on the process and make like all these small nuances all over the place work, because once you make these small nuance changes in your whole shop, that's when you're able to scale. And this is also why I created a free Discord server, so that we can all connect with each other and help each other. And the link for that is down below. And it's a free POD community that you can join if you just click the link in the description. But again, being in a place with like-minded peers that all like face different issues was just the thing that propelled me to give me the foundations that I needed to actually make the business work. And I try to apply this to everything going forward now as well. With this YouTube thing, there's so many things that I don't know. And then I just try to seek out the experts in the field and learn from them. It's been a key thing to actually expedite the process. Now, you can make everything yourself too, and you can like evolve like that too, but the problem with that is that you can't really, you only evolve at the pace of your own story, so to speak. So with whatever is happening in your store, you will learn from that. But when you're in a group with like-minded peers and you hear, okay, this person here has a big issue with delayed orders. And then you learn, okay, I should probably update the ship by date to not incur delayed orders, because delayed orders on Etsy means that they can actually lessen your reach in search. They can also put reserves on your account in the worst case. But you might not face that yourself. But once this person actually faced that, you learn that you should never have delayed orders, and you can update the ship by date to fix that. This other person here has a copyright infringement case, and you kind of know at the back of your head that, okay, you can't fight these trademark infringement or copyright infringement cases. But then you learn, okay, the difference between trademark infringements and copyright infringement cases is that you can fight copyright infringement cases. You can counter those. And there was a shop during my whole journey that I followed that was doing really huge numbers in their first year. And they got one too many copyright infringement cases without knowing that you can actually fight those. And that took his whole store off of Etsy. And he lost his shop and never really got it back. But if he actually knew about the copyright infringement, that you can counter a copyright infringement case on Etsy, then he probably wouldn't have lost it. So being able to actually learn from other people's experiences in a group of like-minded peers, that's been a key thing to actually to scale my whole knowledge when it comes to Etsy, because it's you as an entrepreneur that's reflected in your business. The better you get, the better the business gets, because then you can just reflect on the process, see what works, see what, okay, this worked really good for them. It could probably work well for me. You can also get feedback on your own store to see what you can do better. But that whole feedback loop of either hearing other people's problems and then doing the stuff yourself, implementing those changes, or just getting feedback on your own store has, at least in my experience, been invaluable to actually like reach high revenue numbers in a short amount of time with a big margin. But yeah, so those were the 5 lessons, and I kind of went a bit fast through the whole design thing. I didn't really touch much on it, and it's honestly the main variable to actually get sales. And now in 2025 and onwards, you can use AI, and you can use AI in such great ways. It doesn't look like crap that a lot of people say. You can use AI in a lot of great ways to actually make great designs, and I go over that in this video right here. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I suggest watching that video as well. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one.